Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live here on AOC Community Media. You can see us on AOC Channel 1, which is Cox 15, LUS 3. Also on YouTube, look us up, AOC Community Media. Cypress Street Radio as well. If you want to take us along with your audio, that's aocinc.org/CS radio. You can run us through your phone in your car. This is a really fun program. We do this each weekday at 9 a.m. As a service to the community. We read articles of local and state news from the Acadiana Advocate with the help of some great volunteers. I want to introduce Daniel Rayburn as our reader this morning. Daniel, thank you so much again for joining us.
Oh, good morning, Mandy. Thank you for having me again.
I'm going to throw things over to you. I'm going to take a listen here on Cypress Street Radio. Keep us nice and keep the signal going, and I'm going to let you take over and read the news. So thanks a bunch again.
Thank you. Hello and good morning, Acadiana. It's my pleasure to be back here with you again, bringing you the headlines of today. We're going to jump right in. We have quite a few things to look at. Our first headline: first vaccinations administered in Lafayette. Healthcare workers receive doses. Hope for return to normalcy. This is written by Kristen Ackelson. Ochsner Lafayette General received its first doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine Tuesday and began administering doses to healthcare workers before noon. Our Lady of Lourdes Regional Medical Center in Lafayette is expecting to receive 1,075 initial doses of the vaccine for the Acadiana market, according to spokesperson Elizabeth Arnold. The hospital plans to begin distribution Thursday. Robert Johnson, a nurse in the intensive care unit at Ochsner Lafayette General, was one of the first to receive the vaccine. Although he didn't realize he would be among the first, Johnson said he had no concerns. Quote, "I was in the military for 8 years," Johnson said. "I think I've gotten every vaccine there is. What I'm worried about is us not getting back to normal life. I'd like to be able to visit my family without constantly having to worry about infecting them with the virus." Ochsner Lafayette General is expected to get 2,920 from the first round of the vaccine. A second dose is required and is expected to arrive within weeks. Johnson, who has been working in the ICU for the past 6 months, said it's hard to explain what it's like for COVID-19 patients whose symptoms become so severe they must be hospitalized. Quote, "Nobody on the outside gets to see it firsthand. They don't see how COVID attacks patients differently, but the same. They might have similar comorbidities, but different symptoms. But eventually they start getting acute respiratory distress syndrome. They get scarring in their lung tissue. People don't realize we have to paralyze them, and it's lonely in their rooms. They're completely alone until we come in there, and we can't be with them 24/7. Johnson said he hopes the public will get vaccinated when it becomes more available. And he said he wishes people would take the virus seriously. Quote, "When people say they don't believe in the virus, well, it's not about them. It's about their neighbor or their grandmother being alone in the hospital," he said. On Friday, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration granted emergency use authorization for the vaccine. On Sunday, nearly 3 million doses of the vaccine were loaded into cargo planes and unmarked trucks and left Michigan headquarters en route to all 50 states. The first doses in Louisiana were given out Monday at Ochsner in New Orleans. Lafayette General planned to begin vaccinations Monday, but a shipping problem delayed the start until Tuesday, according to hospital spokesperson Patricia Thompson. Quote, "There is absolutely no issue with the vaccines themselves, only a delay in shipment," Thompson said. Arnold said mass vaccinations have previously been offered for Lourdes team members, so this type of situation is not new. Quote, "We expect to begin receiving regular shipments from the Louisiana Department of Health and for all team members who want a vaccine to be able to receive one by the end of January," she said. The Department of Health reported 2,167 more confirmed coronavirus cases and 42 more deaths in its noon update Tuesday. The number of hospitalizations increased by 70, and the number of patients in need of ventilators increased by 5. To our next headline. Jails grapple with outbreaks. 69 inmates in Lafayette, 39 in St. Landry have virus. Coronavirus cases are rising in the community, and area jails are battling a similar trend as inmate and jail staff cases rise, with the St. Landry Parish Jail seeing 39 inmate cases, and the Lafayette Parish Correctional Center fighting to tamp down 69 inmate cases and 16 employee cases in recent weeks. St. Landry Parish President Jesse Bellard said Acadiana practitioners and jail medics expanded COVID-19 testing to the entire jail facility beginning Thursday, after cases were confirmed in 2 separate jail blocks. Testing found 18 additional inmates had COVID-19, bringing the infected total to 39 inmates in the past 2 weeks. The jail population stood at 217 on Thursday, Bellard said, making the infected inmates roughly 18% of the facility's total population. These are the first detected cases at the facility since the pandemic began, he said. Bellard said knowing the virus in the jail is an important first step to stamping it out. But it'll be a difficult process because the virus is difficult to contain in close quarters, even with precautions. That is the, quote, nature of the beast, he said. I think we're going to quiet it down because we put some things in place that will definitely help. But the sheriff's department and our staff have always put masks on, put the gloves on, put on the proper personal protective equipment to prevent spread inside the jail. And it went this far without getting into the jail. I think they were doing an excellent job. It's just now all of a sudden we have it, and with the close proximity, it spreads fast, Bellard said. Bellard said the first round of COVID-19 testing was conducted December 4th after an inmate alerted staff that he had lost his sense of taste and smell, regarded as a hallmark of the novel coronavirus. 11 inmates tested positive in the first round of the testing. Then another 10 inmates tested positive December 8th, after an inmate in another block also exhibited symptoms. Bellard said inmates who have tested positive and inmates exposed in their blocks have been put on antibiotics, a steroid regimen, and multivitamins to combat the virus and help prevent infection. One parish government employee working in the jail facility tested positive and is quarantining at home. The parish employs medical staff at the parish jail and is responsible for health and welfare of the inmates. Bellard said that 28 male inmates were moved from the facility to create space for a quarantine block to house infected inmates, with 23 transferring to the correctional facility and 5 to Riverbend Detention Center in Lake Providence. He said the inmates were not tested before the transfer, but the other facilities have been testing and following quarantine protocols for new inmates. Another 15 female inmates were moved from the facility Friday to former Opelousas Police Department jail facility that was out of use. The parish is staffing the facility while it houses the female inmates. The additional space is being used as a quarantine space for new entrants to the jail. Those inmates will be in single rooms, while inmates who test positive will be in a room with another infected inmate in another quarantine block. The parish president said overcrowding at the jail was an existing issue exacerbated by COVID-19 and the need to have space between inmates, especially when combating an outbreak. He said the parish is spending roughly $60,000 a month to house inmates outside the parish. Quote, everything we're doing now is temporary, and that's a problem because I don't think COVID is going away. We're fighting a battle when we don't know what the end result is going to be, Bellard said. The Lafayette Parish Correctional Center has seen a similar spike of COVID-19 cases among jail employees and inmates in the last 2 weeks, with 69 inmates and 16 staff members testing positive for the coronavirus. Another 130 inmates have been exposed to COVID-19 positive inmates. All are being housed in 12 quarantine blocks, a Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office statement said. Those infected or exposed represent 40% of the jail's inmate population. Of the infected inmates, 14 have mild symptoms, while the remainder are asymptomatic, the Sheriff's Office said in a statement. The inmates who have tested positive have been evaluated by medical personnel and are being monitored. No inmates have required emergency intervention or hospitalization. Agency spokesperson Captain John Mowell said each of the inmates in the quarantine housing units are residing in single rooms. So infected inmates are not sharing rooms with non-infected blockmates. Inmates in the quarantine pods include inmates newly introduced to the jail who are required to quarantine after entry or can be cleared through a COVID-19 test. Moving to our next headline. Lafayette schools to test fully virtual learning. The Lafayette Parish school system will end the fall semester by testing out full virtual learning in all district schools on December 21st and December 22nd. The district said the exercise is an effort to instill confidence in students, parents, and educators that virtual learning can be operated successfully on a large scale. The decision to go virtual before the beginning of Christmas break is not in response to COVID-19 cases in area public schools, district spokesperson Allison Dickerson said in a statement. Individual schools will determine the structure of virtual learning days, but learning could include recorded lessons, videos, live Zoom sessions, and office hours, or independent learning through a digital platform. Regardless of the format, all work for the 2 school days will be required, and students must log on and record their attendance, the statement said. Grab-and-go meals will be available for pickup and can be ordered through the district's Child Nutrition Services office. Chief Academic Officer Mark Rabelais said in the release, the exercise would, quote, pay dividends in the future by better preparing educators to rapidly shift to full virtual learning if the need arises. Quote, by conducting this completely virtual exercise in advance, the district will be better able to evaluate and update current plans and provide our teachers, school leaders, and families valuable information regarding our school-wide virtual plans, Rabelais said in the release. Rabelais said the virtual test is an opportunity for parents, especially those with multiple children, to test devices and connectivity in their homes and provide feedback in the school system about pitfalls and barriers to virtual learning so changes can be made. For families without internet, the district has partnered with internet providers to offer hotspots, low-cost internet services, and boosted Wi-Fi signals in parking lots at all school sites. The school system has also partnered with Love Our Schools to pay for limited Wi-Fi in qualified students' homes. The school system also announced elementary students will stick to a full-time in-person learning schedule, and middle and high school students will remain on a hybrid schedule when classes resume on January 4th after the holidays. The first week of school will be an A group attendance week. The district briefly returned to a full-time learning for middle and high school students in early November, but shifted back to a hybrid learning model after COVID-19 outbreaks and wide-ranging quarantines, forced closures at David Thibodeau STEM Magnet Academy and Southside High School. Taking a moment between the headlines. Due to COVID-19 and concerns for community spread, there has been a dramatic decrease in available shelter beds. Those beds will remain unavailable throughout the winter. That means many experiencing homelessness may have no other option than to sleep on the street. Throughout this pandemic, Arch has been able to utilize local hotel and motel rooms as a temporary housing solution. From there, case managers help our fellow Acadians transition to permanent housing. We are very proud of our success in keeping those who we serve safe from COVID-19 and on their way to long-term stability. However, the number of homeless is growing, and winter is here. We need your help to get our neighbors out of the cold and into warm, safe housing. Can you help today? Go to www.archacadiana.org. That's www.archacadiana.org. If you would prefer to give by check, please mail to Arch, ARCH, at P.O. Box 3936, Lafayette, Louisiana, 70502. Vitalant is still an urgent need for blood donations. Blood and palate donations often drop during the holiday months as fewer donors are available because of seasonal activities and illnesses. But this year, the outlook is particularly worrisome. With many schools transitioned to virtual learning and businesses in work-from-home situations, About 1,600 Vitalant blood drives have already been canceled for November and December. Currently, there is an urgent need for O-negative blood, the universal blood type that all patients can receive. O-negative donors can maximize their impact by giving a Power Red donation. We encourage donors to make an appointment by visiting vitalant.org or by calling 877-25-VITAL. That's 877-25-VITAL. And back to the headlines today. Our next reads, Education Chief, teachers deserve priority for vaccine. This is written by Will Sintel. State Superintendent of Education Cade Brumley said Tuesday he has asked top state health officials to prioritize Louisiana's roughly 166,000 teachers and support staff for getting the corona vaccine. Quote, although schools have made noble accommodations in terms of providing virtual instruction, there simply is no replacement for in-person instruction, Brumley wrote in a December 11th letter to Courtney Phillips, Secretary for the State Department of Health. Quote, it is in the best interest of the physical, emotional, and mental well-being of most students to engage and interact with their peers in person, he wrote. For these reasons, I respectfully request that our approximately 166,000 early child care workers, pre-K to 12, teachers, bus drivers, custodians, and other education staff are for voluntary access to COVID-19 vaccines as essential workers on the front lines. Their health and safety is critical to providing high-quality, in-person instruction while also securing the physical and mental well-being of Louisiana's most valuable assets, its students. Education groups are expected to line up behind Brumley's request. The issue surfaced during a meeting of Louisiana's top school boards shortly after two doctors who have worked with the State Department of Education praised how students have fared since classes began in early August. Quote, I would call it a massive success overall, said Dr. Leron Finger, Chief Quality Officer for Children's Hospital in New Orleans. One of the safest places for our students right now are our schools' campuses. State officials have said 65% of public and private school students statewide are attending in-person classes. The rest are relying on virtual learning or in a combination of in-person and distance learning. Some public schools in the Baton Rouge area and elsewhere began their Christmas break early because of concerns about the coronavirus. The first doses of vaccine in Louisiana were given out Monday at Ochsner in New Orleans. Healthcare workers and nursing home residents topped the list for getting the first doses of the vaccine. Exactly where teachers and others in the education field rank is unclear. State leaders have said they plan to follow guidelines spelled out by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention in who gets the vaccine first. A spokesperson for the State Department of Health did not immediately respond to requests for comment on Brumley's letter to Phillips. Dr. Billy Linenzar, chairman of pediatrics for Ochsner Health System, told the State Board of Elementary and Secondary Education he remembered saying months ago that, quote, we are never going to get kids to do this, meaning wearing protective face masks and observing social distancing rules. Quote, children are far more adaptable and resilient than adults. He said children do not get sick nearly as often as adults, and when they do, the vast majority are absolutely fine in the long term. Both doctors also said in cases where students contract the coronavirus, they mostly do so at home or in other spots away from school campuses. The revised rules allow students and others exposed to illnesses to end their quarantines after 7 days if they test negative for the virus and show no symptoms, or 10 days if they do show symptoms, according to an update from the CDC. Quote, you have to stay laser focused on masking and social distancing, Linenzar said of those who exercise the shorter quarantine times. Holly Boffey, a Bessie member from Lafayette, said the comments by both doctors deserve wide circulation. Quote, there are a lot of people that need to hear that right now, Boffey said. People are getting messages all over the place. It is not necessarily the message we want them to hear. Our next headline: Avery Island collapse latest in a string of Louisiana salt mine disasters. And this is written by Kristen Ackelson. The Avery Island salt mine collapse is the first deadly incident of its kind in Louisiana in decades, according to the U.S. Mine Rescue Association. The body of one of the two missing miners was found Tuesday as the search continued for the other miner more than 24 hours after a roof collapse at the salt mine. The deadliest Louisiana salt mine disaster took place in Franklin's Bell Island salt mine on March 5, 1968. 21 men were working in the underground mine on that day when a fire broke out. There were no survivors. One man died of a skull fracture, and 20 died of carbon monoxide poisoning, according to the association. Although the cause of the fire was never pinpointed, an investigation determined 3 contributing factors: the absence of adequate fire prevention measures in a shaft structure made of flammable light timber and plywood, inadequate firefighting facilities, and the lack of a second shaft, which could have provided the trapped men with another way out of the mine. These inadequacies have been called to the attention of the company management nearly 6 months before the fire, according to the association. On February 19, 1970, 4 men were killed when a ceiling collapsed at the Jefferson Island mine, burying them in rock salt at about 1,300 feet. Nearly 10 years later, on June 8, 1979, there was a deadly explosion at the Bell Island mine. There were 22 miners underground at the time, and 5 were killed. The gas explosion was triggered by a scheduled blast in the mine. The scheduled blast triggered an outburst of about 15,750 tons of broken salt and flammable gases, including methane and other hydrocarbons, according to a report by the Mine Safety and Health Administration. The most famous mine disaster in the state didn't result in any loss of life. On November 20th, 1980, an oil rig was doing exploratory drilling when it punctured the salt dome below Jefferson Island. The hole resulted in a massive sinkhole, which drained the lake and caused the Delcombe Channel to backflow into the hole. Salt water from the Gulf of Mexico eventually flowed backwards up the canal and into the sinkhole. In 2012, the Bayou Cornet salt mine, operated by Texas Brine, Occidental Chemical, and Vulcan Materials in Assumption Parish, collapsed, creating a giant hole in the Louisiana swamp. A judge later ruled the companies put, quote, economic interest over environmental and safety concerns in operations that led to the formation of the sinkhole. The sinkhole's appearance overnight on August 3rd, 2012, led Texas Brine to eventually agree to buy out dozens of home and camp owners fishing in retirement hamlet as the dramatic and unprecedented failure of the salt cavern gained international attention. On that same note, another headline: body of Avery Island salt miner found. Search continues for second missing employee following collapse. This is brought to us by Ben Myers. One Avery Island salt mine employee who went missing after a Monday morning roof collapse was found dead Tuesday. Another miner was still missing as of 3 p.m. Tuesday, according to a statement from mine operator Cargill Dicing Technology. Cargill said its rescue team recovered the body and was, quote, continuing to do everything we can to locate another team member with whom we have not had contact since the accident. The company did not provide any additional details. Although the cause is under investigation, the company said in an earlier statement, quote, there is no indication that it is related to safety violations identified in recent federal inspections. More than 50 safety citations have been issued at the mine this year, nearly all of them identifying Cargill as the violator, according to Mine Safety and Health Administration records. The most recent citations occurred part of an inspection that is ongoing, records show. A December 3rd citation indicated that inspectors found hazardous ground conditions. Cargill said Tuesday that its rescue team had worked through the night to secure the collapse location. Avery Island, which produces about 2 million tons of salt per year, is one of the 3 U.S. salt mines that Cargill operates, according to Cargill. Salt from the 3 mines is used to de-ice roads. The Avery Island mine is owned by a company affiliated with the McElhenney Corporation, which produces Tabasco pepper sauce. The mine employs nearly 200 people, 18 of whom were working at the time of the collapse. All but the 2 who went missing escaped unharmed, according to the company. There are 3 similarly sized underground salt mines active in Louisiana, combining for a little more than 500 jobs last year, according to federal data. The other 2, at Cote Blanche Island and Weeks Island, are within a few miles of Avery Island, in Iberia and St. Mary parishes. There have been at least 6 fatalities in Louisiana's underground salt mines since 1995. One of those occurred at Avery Island when a Cargill equipment operator died in a tractor accident. A fire at the Cargill-managed Bell Island salt mine killed 21 people in 1968, and 5 died in an explosion there in 1979. That mine was abandoned and intentionally flooded 6 years after the second disaster, according to explorebellisland.com. Cargill's salt mine in Lansing, New York, has attracted controversy, with activists and political leaders demanding a moratorium on mining operations. They worry the mine under Cayuga Lake is susceptible to collapsing and flooding, similar to the 1994 collapse of the Retzoff mine about 80 miles away. Cargill also agreed last month in an amended consent decree to pay $318,000 to settle civil litigation over alleged Clean Water Act violations related to its Cayuga Lake operation. Stepping away from the headlines. During the holiday season, online person-to-person sales are an easy way for sellers to make holiday cash and buyers to score a deal. But meeting a stranger to complete the transaction can put both parties in a dangerous situation. The Lafayette Consolidated Government Safe Exchange location at the Lafayette Police Department is the safest location to carry out exchanges. District 3 City Councilwoman Liz Hebert spearheaded the effort, and since opening the location in 2006, has received tremendous feedback from citizens. Quote, "The safe exchange location has given people a sense of security and comfort when meeting to exchange a product, and it deters crime, decreasing the likelihood of becoming a victim of a scam, robbery, or assault." According to Lafayette Police Department Public Information Officer Wayne Griffin, crime increases during the holidays. Quote, This time of year, we usually see an uptick in calls to report stealing, robbing, and shoplifting. The public can feel safe knowing exchanges are monitored by a police officer, making citizens less vulnerable to crime, he said. The site is secured with cameras, capturing the transaction and vehicles, and is located in the parking lot across the street from the police department. Upon arrival, citizens should call the number on the side, and an officer will monitor the transaction using a live video feed. Mayor President Josh Guillory adds, "I encourage our citizens to use the safe exchange location year-round, but especially during the holidays, when unfortunately criminals take advantage of others. We want our citizens to feel secure, knowing the site minimizes the risk of danger." The location is also used for court-appointed and non-court-appointed child custody exchanges, offering a neutral and less stressful spot to exchange belongings and hand off children to the other parent without having to walk inside the department. The Lafayette Consolidated Government is increasing mosquito abatement efforts in the parish. An increase in mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event. Citizens noticing an influx of mosquitoes in their area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request service. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. We are now going to step back from local and state headlines for a moment to take a look at the deaths in the parish, along with our Today in History, followed by the horoscopes. There are only 2 deaths to report today in the Acadiana area. The first is for L.V. Leger, A service will be held at the Giese Ferguson Funeral Home at 2 p.m. And our second is for Evelyn Pettigene, a service being held at the St. Joseph's Catholic Church at 1 p.m. Our Today in History is brought to us by the Associated Press. Today is Wednesday, December 16th, the 351st day of 2020. There are 15 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history is, on December 16th, 2000, President-elect George W. Bush selected Colin Powell to become the first African-American Secretary of State. On this date, in 1773, the Boston Tea Party took place, as American colonists boarded a British ship and dumped more than 300 chests of tea into Boston Harbor to protest tea taxes. In 1809, the French Senate granted a divorce decree to Emperor Napoleon I and Empress Josephine. The dissolution was made final the following month. In 1811, the first of the powerful New Madrid earthquakes struck the central Mississippi Valley with an estimated magnitude of 7.7. In 1905, the entertainment trade publication Variety came out with its first weekly issue. In 1944, the World War II Battle of the Bulge began as German forces launched a surprise attack against Allied forces through the Ardennes forest in Belgium and Luxembourg. The Allies were eventually able to turn the Germans back. In 1950, President Harry S. Truman proclaimed a national state of emergency in order to fight world conquest by communist imperialists. In 1960, 134 people were killed when a United Airlines DC-8 and a TWA Super Constellation collided over New York City. In 1982, Environmental Protection Agency head Ann M. Gersich became the first cabinet-level officer to be cited for contempt of Congress for refusing to submit documents requested by a committee. In 1985, organized crime chief Paul Castellano and his bodyguard were shot to death outside a New York City restaurant on orders of John Gotti. In 1991, the U.S. General Assembly rescinded its 1975 resolution equating Zionism with racism by a vote of 111 to 25. In 2001, after 9 weeks of fighting, Afghan militia leaders claimed control of the last mountain bastion of Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda fighters, but bin Laden himself was nowhere to be seen. 10 years ago today, the House joined the Senate in passing a massive bipartisan tax package, preventing a big New Year's Day tax hike for millions of Americans. 5 years ago today, the first attempt to find a Baltimore police officer criminally responsible for Freddie Gray's death from a broken neck in a police van ended with a hung jury and a mistrial in the case of William Porter. 1 year ago today, Drew Brees became the NFL's all-time leader in touchdown passes, throwing for 4 TDs to lead the New Orleans Saints to a 34-7 victory over the Indianapolis Colts. And looking at some of today's famous birthdays. Civil rights attorney and co-founder of the Southern Poverty Law Center, Morris Dees, is 84. Actor Liz Ullman is 82. CBS News correspondent Leslie Stahl is 79. Pop musician Tony Hicks of the Hollies has turned 75. Pop singer Benny Anderson of ABBA is 74. Rock musician Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top has turned 71. Actor Xander Berkeley is 65. Actor Allison LaPlaca is 61. Actor John Tenney has turned 59. Country singer-songwriter Jeff Carson has turned 57. Comedian J.B. Smooth has turned 55. Actor Miranda Otto has turned 53. Actor Jonathan Scarf is now 45. Actor Kristen Ritter has turned 39. Country musician Chris Scruggs is 38. Actor Amanda Seaton has turned 35. Rock musician Dave Rublin of American Authors has turned 34. Actor Anne Popplewell is 32. And actor Stephen James has turned 27. Now looking at the horoscopes of the day. We'll start with Sagittarius, which is birth dates of November 23rd to December 21st. Be careful when dealing with joint ventures or shared expenses. Keeping things equal will help you avoid tension and get things done on time. For Capricorns, which is birth dates of December 22nd to January 19th. Keep busy and keep the peace. Channel your energy into something concrete. If you are smart and goal-oriented, success will come your way. You must work hard to be reasonable. To Aquarius, which is January 20th through February 19th birth dates. Keep an open mind and listen to what others say, but don't let anyone meddle in your affairs. Work hard to uphold your beliefs and keep a cause that matters to you. For the Pisces, which is birth dates of February 20th through March 20th. Look at your objective and map out a realistic, affordable plan. Don't let a last-minute change lead to uncertainty. Consider what's best for you and head in that direction. For Aries, which is birth dates of March 21st to April 19th. What you want to do and what you are supposed to do will be in conflict. Stop stressing out and start working hard. Get your responsibilities out of the way early. Romance is favored. To Taurus, which is birth dates of April 20th to May 20th. If you focus on success, you will be happy with the results. Invest more time, effort, and money in learning, honing your skills, and making your dreams come true. Embrace change. For our Gemini, which is May 21st to June 20th birth dates. Talk matters through to get good results. A partnership looks promising, but it will require honesty from the start. Fess up to anything that has been the potential to become a problem. For Cancer, which is birth dates of June 21st through July 22nd. A financial change will take you by surprise. Be wary of anyone asking personal questions or wanting access to sensitive information. A partnership will take an exciting turn. To Leo, which is birth dates of July 23rd to August 22nd. You will thrive in a setting that require a physical endurance and competition. Be honest with yourself regarding what you can do and plan your strategy to fit your ability. For Virgo, birth dates of August 23rd to September 22nd, refuse to let personal problems drag you down. Your success will depend on how much you are willing to put in to reach your goal. Strive for perfection and embrace new possibilities. For Libra, which is September 23rd to October 23rd birth dates. Listen to your heart, fulfill your dreams, and let go of what is no longer working for you. Problems at home will leave you feeling torn between what you want and how to go about getting your way. And finally, for Scorpio, which is October 24th to November 22nd birth dates. Stop laboring over what's holding you back. Put your ducks in a row and make a move. You know what's best for you and what you have to do to reach your objective. And now, before we return to our state headlines. Acadiana Symphony Orchestra takes the virtual stage. The Acadiana Symphony Orchestra has announced that they are shifting the fall portion of the ASO 36 revival season, which is running from September to the end of December, to a virtual live stream platform. ASO believes that this is an unquestionable solution to keeping our community safe while providing opportunities for local musicians to share their passion and earn income despite mandated restrictions and uncertain venue viability. The Acadiana Symphony Orchestra has and will always remain committed to providing outstanding performances to Acadiana and fueling the cultural economy of our region. Symphonies, businesses, and organizations across the country are having to rethink, retool, and reinvent. And we are no different. So thank you for your grace and your patience as we map out the last few months. We are working tirelessly behind the scenes to solidify plans for these virtual concerts. And it is our commitment to you that we clearly and concisely communicate AOS 36 revival season details in the coming and past weeks. At a minimum, we are certain that you receive the highest quality live streaming performance, which you can enjoy from virtually anyway. The remaining lineup for this year and 2021. Believe, a performance on Thursday, December 17th, 2020, which is virtual. Adore, Friday, February 12th, 2021, which is currently scheduled to be performed at the Acadiana Center of the Arts. Empower, scheduled to be performed Friday, April 16th, 2021 at St. John's Cathedral. And Revive, scheduled to be performed Thursday, May 13th, 2021 at St. Mary's Church. AOC has teamed up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. The United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, which is Cox Channel 16 or LUS Channel 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch, which is aocinc.org/watch. For the daily schedules and to submit content for the program, please visit the United Way of Acadiana's website, which is unitedwayofacadiana, all one word, .org/learn-united. That's Acadiana, United Way of Acadiana.org/learn-united. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainties surrounding this public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7, and all calls are confidential. Please call 1-866-310-7977. That number again is 1-866-310-7977. And back to look at a couple of headlines across the state and our crime headlines for the day before heading into sports. So, we'll begin with crime. Our first headline: 1 killed in Scott fire. 1 person is dead after an overnight house fire in the 200 block of Roger Road in Scott. According to Scott Fire Chief Chad Saunier, firefighters responded to the home just after midnight. The State Fire Marshal's office and the Lafayette Fire Department were still on the scene Tuesday morning investigating the fire's cause. The victim's name has not been released. Saunier said several pieces of fire equipment were blocking the road near the scene. Drivers were urged to stay away from the area until the investigation is completed. And a secondary crime headline: Lafayette house severely damaged in Tuesday fire. The Lafayette Fire Department was on the scene of a house fire in the 600 block of Poydras Street on Tuesday morning. The fire department said it was uncertain at the time if the house was occupied at the time of the fire. The house sustained severe damage. No injuries were reported. A resident who was out walking his dog said he saw the smoke and flames and called 911. An investigation is ongoing. To a state headline: official in Landry's office put on leave. This is written by Sam Carlin. One top official in Attorney General Jeff Landry's office is on leave while the agency investigates a, quote, office policy violation after a complaint filed by an employee. Spokesman Corey Dennis confirmed Monday that Pat McGee, the director of the office's criminal division, is on leave during the investigation into an unspecified allegation. Quote, our office treats employee complaints seriously in a manner that protects the legal rights of all parties involved, Dennis said in an email. As such, Mr. McGee is on leave while an ongoing administrative investigation for potential violation of office policy is conducted. Landry's office, in response to a public records request for complaints filed against McGee, said, quote, the only complaints against Mr. McGee are part of the ongoing investigation and are therefore confidential. McGee, who took over as the head of the agency's criminal division in 2018, is a member of the Southern University Board of Supervisors. McGee and Landry are both from the Lafayette area and met at Southern University Law School, which they both attended. McGee was the first Black director of the criminal division at the Attorney General's office. Dennis did not immediately respond to further inquiries about the investigation. McGee did not immediately return a message seeking comment. The office's criminal division oversaw Medicaid fraud and some high-profile criminal cases. The division oversaw the investigation into alleged corruption by Ascension Parish President Kenny Matassa, who was cleared of wrongdoing, and the police killing of Alton Sterling in 2016. The Baton Rouge police officers in that case were cleared of charges by Landry's office shortly after McGee took office. McGee makes about $140,000 a year, according to the Division of Administration. The former criminal division director in Landry's office was Brandon Freeman, who was tapped in February 2018 to serve as the U.S. Attorney General in the Middle District of Louisiana. Landry previously told the Advocate he looked for someone with experience working with district attorney's offices and someone with like-minded persecutorial discretion. Quote, "It was easy in selecting Pat," Landry said at the time. McGee grew up in Scott and worked in the prosecutor's office of the 15th Judicial District in Lafayette during law school. He was in private practice before Landry tapped him, working at the Voorhees and Labe office law firm in Lafayette. Last year, Landry's press secretary in an unrelated incident resigned after being arrested for alleged domestic abuse against his pregnant girlfriend. Our next headline: Biden victory gets icy reception from Louisiana. This is written by Tyler Bridges. They still can't say it. 6 of the 7 Republican members of Louisiana's congressional delegation still can't bring themselves to utter the words that Joe Biden will be sworn in as the next president in January. Not after recounts showing that Biden won the key battleground states. Not after Attorney General William Barr, an appointee of President Donald Trump, said the Justice Department had not uncovered enough fraud to overturn the results. Not after the U.S. Supreme Court dismissed a lawsuit seeking to nullify Biden's victory, and not after the Electoral College affirmed on Monday that Biden defeated Trump by 306 votes to 232 votes. U.S. Senator John Kennedy, quote, continues to believe that it doesn't weaken democracy to insist elections be free and fair, said Jess Andrews, a spokesperson. The courts should hear out allegations of election irregularities. The senator is continuing to watch the legal and constitutional processes which are ongoing. U.S. Representative Clay Higgins, who represents Acadiana, tiptoed close to acknowledging Biden's victory, but didn't go all the way. Quote, Joe Biden may indeed be inaugurated on January 20th, 2021, Higgins said in a statement. In my studied opinion, it would be an unjust inauguration, product of a compromised presidential election, a somber day for our republic. Investigations require time that America does not have. Peace will prevail, and a president will be inaugurated in January. However, the wheels of justice turn slowly, and in their own time, at a pace unprescribed. Senator Bill Cassidy is the only Republican in the delegation who has acknowledged that Biden won. He first said so on November 24th and has continued to say it since. Quote, obviously, he is the president-elect, Cassidy told CNN on Sunday. He has 270 electoral college votes. We're the law and order party. We are a nation of the Constitution. We're a nation of laws. If we're a nation of laws, and this is the Constitution, and this is the law, and this is how it breaks out, and the courts have ruled, then President Biden is going to be our next president. While most members of the Louisiana Republican delegation aren't yet willing to acknowledge that Biden will soon occupy the White House, the most powerful Republican in Congress came around on Tuesday. Quote, many of us hoped that the presidential election would yield a different result, but our system of government has processes to determine who will be sworn in on January 20th, Senator Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, said on the Senate floor Tuesday. The Electoral College has spoken. So today, I want to congratulate President-elect Joe Biden. In his comments, McConnell broke with Trump after refusing to do so for days. Trump has repeatedly made baseless claims about the election, and on Tuesday, he showed no signs that he is willing to concede. Trump retweeted an article from the conservative site Breitbart.com that reported on efforts to have Congress reject the Electoral College vote on January 6, when it meets to formally certify the results. Two members of the congressional delegation, Representative Steve Scalise, the number 2 ranking Republican in the House, who represents suburban New Orleans, and Representative Ralph Abraham, who represents Northeast Louisiana, didn't answer emails from the advocate on Tuesday about Biden's victory. Representative Garrett Graves' office gave this non-responsive answer when asked whether Biden won. Quote, yes, Garrett has full faith in the Louisiana electors and that Trump won all 8 votes from Louisiana citizens. In 2 years, many of them will have to run for re-election. They would face a Trump-supported challenger from the right if they incur the president's wrath. A Quinnipiac University poll helps explain the Republican response. Released last week, it found that 77% of Republicans nationally believe widespread fraud marred the election, and 70% believe Biden's victory was not legitimate. U.S. Representative Mike Johnson, who represents Northwest Louisiana, led an effort to have 126 House Republicans sign onto a lawsuit filed by Texas's Attorney General that sought to have the Supreme Court throw out the election results. Johnson's office did not respond to an email Tuesday and did not respond to a text. But in an interview with The New Yorker published Tuesday, Johnson said it's still too early to declare Biden the victor. Quote, I think it's correct for us to say, in a measured, thoughtful response, that we need to allow all the legal remedies to run their course. There are pending cases still out there. They may all be dismissed by the appellate courts and probably in short order. But until that time has come, we have to let it run its course. Paul Hardy, decades ago served as Louisiana's first Republican lieutenant governor since Reconstruction, said it is time for his GOP colleagues to face reality. Quote, short and sweet, Hardy said, I'm a Trump supporter, but it is a done deal. And with the time we have left today, we will move on to our last few headlines, which focus on sports around the area. And the first of those follows. Cajuns prep for early signing day. Sun Belt title game. Quote, we have the luxury of being very selective this year. This is brought to us by Ken Foote. UL football coach Billy Napier has said multiple times over the past weeks that all of its focus and attention is preparing his Raging Cajuns for Saturday's 2:30 p.m. Sun Belt Conference Championship game at Coastal Carolina. And while that's completely understandable, there is a matter of the early version of National Signing Day on Wednesday. Napier said it helps that the vast majority of UL's verbal commitments came before the start of the 2020 season, as does the reality that there's fewer commitments on the table overall. Quote, we have the luxury of being very selective this year, Napier said. According to 24/7 Sports, the Cajuns have 14 commitments for the 2021 class. In that group, 2 are listed as quarterbacks, 2 as running backs, 1 offensive lineman, 3 defensive linemen, 1 wide receiver, 1 linebacker, 1 safety, 1 cornerback, and 2 general athletes. The truth is recruiting these days, especially in 2020, is more complicated on one hand, and yet acquiring new players to bolster a roster is also easier than ever. Quote, there's a number of different ways to acquire players these days, Napier said. I think you're going to see this transfer portal situation is going to be much like the National Football League and free agency. Both add and lose players through the transfer portal, which Napier says he fully supports. Quote, not all attrition is bad attrition. Some of the 14 commitments aren't expected to sign until the traditional February signing day. For example, With his Golden Bears playing Neville on Friday in the Class 4A state semifinals, Karen Crow running back Kendrell Williams is one of the early commitments expected to wait. With Williams, however, there's no reason for UL fans to be concerned he might sign elsewhere. And although Napier would understand a commitment waiting to make sure he's going to still be UL's coach after the rumored season ends, Napier withdrew his name from South Carolina's search shortly before the Gamecocks hired Sean Beamer, and his name also has been mentioned in connection with an opening at Auburn. The Cajuns coach said that there were no concerns in that area. Quote, "We haven't had that issue," Napier said in a Zoom teleconference Monday. Quote, "I do think it's part of the dynamic and part of the timeline. The big thing here is if a young man were to sign and then the head coach were to leave. There's a clause in there where the institution will let you out of the national letter of intent and you can open up your options. We don't have to worry about that here. I think the big thing here is we're focused on the task at hand. We're working really hard to finish this class in the right way." There are other issues at hand that could influence signing day decisions. One is this year's seniors now have another year of eligibility, if desired because of the NCAA's summer COVID relief ruling. Quote, "Think of this year as not counting," Napier said. "We just hit pause on the 2020 season, and then we're going to hit unpause as soon as the season's over." Quote, "Some will choose to go ahead and graduate and go ahead and pursue their NFL dreams. But you are going to be granted a kind of waiver based off of the number of seniors that you do have now. Now, if they don't come back, you don't get the spot." UL has 13 seniors on scholarship. Quarterback Levi Lewis has announced he's returning, but other seniors have said they're waiting until after the season to announce their decision. Quote, "I'm thankful that we do have some young men that are going to give a chance to come back," Napier said. "We've played a lot more football than a lot of people out there. It'll benefit us in a lot of ways." The other issue to consider is the anticipated one-time transfer rule that may be passed next spring. The rule would allow all college students to transfer one time during their careers and be immediately eligible. Quote, "The big thing is the consensus that this thing will pass," Napier said. "It will be voted on later in the spring and then become official on August 1st. You're seeing even more and more movement out there on football teams. We anticipated going through. All the information and research that we're doing is expected to get passed." And our final sports headline and our final headline of the day, we're going to focus on some high school football. And the headline reads, "Church Point rides Stout D to semifinals." This is brought to us by Mike Copage. Undefeated Church Point rolls into the Class 3A football semifinals on Friday night behind the strength of a dominant defense. During the regular season, the number 4 Bears, 8-0, allowed an average of 15 points per game. In the playoffs, defensive coordinator Rob Poole's group clamped down in wins over the number 29 Mansfield, number 20 Bruisley, and number 5 St. James. Powered by defensive lineman Tony Gibson, Javen Gibson, and Jamarion Citizen, along with linebacker Dylan Stelly, the Bears have surrendered a total of 13 points in the postseason. Quote, "We have good players," Poole said. "They're able to get off blocks. They're able to retain a lot of information, so we've been able to give people a lot of different looks. We have played fast and with energy and confidence. The guys have all the intangibles you need to have a good defense." Led by wide receiver Shaz Preston, who was rated as the number 1 junior in Louisiana by ESPN, St. James was averaging more than 35 points per game before the Wildcats lost 14-7 to Church Point. Quote, "They had the recruits, but we just approached them like any other 6'1", 305-pound Gibson, who has had 36 solo stops, 15 tackles for a loss, and 5 sacks and 13 quarterback hurries this season. Quote, "Coach Poole shows us a lot of different formations and plays that make us better as a defense. He lets up three up-front players our own way without changing the defense too much, and that allows our linebackers to run free. Church Point frustrated the St. James offense by consistently making big stops on first down. Quote, I thought we were able to command the box at times, but put them in second down and long, Poole said. That opens up the defensive playbook to where you can do a lot of different things. Quote, and that makes their offense one-dimensional. When someone is able to move the ball, it's 50-50 to where they can run or pass. But if you can stop them on first down, you can make them throw. Poole said his three-man defensive front has been the catalyst for the unit's success. Quote, Javen, Jamarion, and Tony make the linebackers' job a lot easier. If you can control the line of scrimmage, you can keep your linebackers clean. You can create a pass rush with 4 rushers. You don't have to take chances and still get pressure on the quarterback. The defensive line has allowed Stelly to roam mostly unhindered from his linebacker position. The 6'1", 205-pound senior has 30 solo tackles, 27 assists, and 3 pass breakups. Church Point will host number 9 Madison Prep on Friday. The Baton Rouge-based Chargers are 8-2 with a forfeit loss in week 1 to Estruma. Quote, the key is for us to go in with the same mindset we had last week, Gibson said. To play as a team with nobody making it about themselves. We're all fighting for one goal. And that's our headlines for today, Acadiana. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you join us tomorrow. Have a great day.